In the case of Jasper Reports, it's available through the GPL license of open source, which means that anybody can take it and use it and make it into a product of their own. Most of our other products in the open source are available through the GPL license, which means they're allowed to develop with it, and then in order to move it into production, they typically would want a commercial relationship with Jaspersoft. So it's a combination of open source breadth of use and discovery combined with commercial relationship for mutual advancement. Our products to help contribute, to make them much, much better. We take that very seriously, and as I mentioned, we have tens of thousands of developers, community participants all around the globe who are actively, every day, making Jaspersoft products better and better. That's a key difference between open source and the closed or proprietary source software of the past. In some ways, what we're trying to do is create a virtuous circle of the community participants contributing software which we will polish or refine and then give back to the community in open source or free versions as well as commercial versions. So most of what we do is this virtuous circle of giving back to the community as well. We do find ways to earn money and create a commercial enterprise, which we know is important and good for the community, because if we don't earn a living, if we don't create a successful company that's commercially oriented, we won't be able to continue serving the community as well. I believe that there's enormous room for growth and possibility of creating a successful commercial enterprise around open source. Think of open source as a wonderfully efficient distribution model, and it's a much more efficient research and development mechanism. Beyond that, over time, Jaspersoft and most open source companies will look more and more like the commercial software companies of today, but with very important differences that rely on community, collaboration, and transparent dialogue with this audience to help make this company, Jaspersoft, much stronger than you would find in a traditional software company. Yeah, the fact is that open source software companies like Jaspersoft have now reached a point of maturity where our tools and products are every bit as vibrant and capable as the older, more mature, more legacy-based technologies that we're seeking to compete with. So we're at a point of feature capability and functionality that allows us to compete with these very large and consolidating group of business intelligence companies. So many software companies like Microsoft want to adopt more open source methods of working. Very important and popular for them. They do struggle based upon their legacy, their aged code bases for doing that. Yeah. Very difficult to do so. But that doesn't mean they can't try to take on the principles of transparency, collaboration, openness that open source represents. It does mean that they're probably prevented legally from moving their source code bases into an open source model in most cases. But the ideals of open source should be maintained by every software company, including some of the biggest like Microsoft. So the European market in total, very important to open source and very important to Jaspersoft. We know from downloads and from forum activity, site activity on the different open source sites, that Europe is every bit as interested, maybe more so per capita than the United States, more and more interested in open source. And we know at Jaspersoft, for instance, that you are consistently, France in particular, is consistently in the top 6 countries in terms of downloads and forum activities and page views on all of our websites. France has an incredibly rich tradition, a pioneering tradition in open source in the government and business circles. In many ways, you've set the pace for all of Europe and all of the world to embrace, use, and extend open source, and for this you should be applauded. You're right that we have a rich tradition at Jaspersoft for being the best in embeddable reporting capabilities through our Jasper Reports and other products. Over time, what we'll do is we'll expand on what we think of today as the reporting interface to extend it to include integrated analytic capabilities so that the user, in a very simple, efficient way, inside the construct of a report, will have the ability to conduct richer and deeper, more capable analytic analysis, so that never leaving that reporting environment or the feel of a reporting environment, they're able to interact with the data in much richer ways. It's difficult to say, really. I think of our milestones really as being responsible for this enormous and important community, and if we're better served in some other way, either being publicly traded or being part of another company, we'll take that as an event, a financial event at the time that it's required. But until then, it's just a matter of building the most successful company we possibly can. Goals. Many of them are community-based, size and vibrancy of the community, that we've set certain milestones in place, millions more downloads, hundreds of thousands more registered successful developers in our community. Those sorts of things are very important to us, and I track them every quarter. I also have a number of commercial goals that I track for the company. Arguably the most important is reaching profitability, and I'm hopeful that by about this time next year or a little bit later, Jaspersoft will find its way to being a profitable, thriving company, in addition to being the best open source business intelligence company on the planet.